Stop me if you've heard this one before. The New Orleans Saints lost a football game. 6 straight losses for this team. Dennis Allen's squad looks lifeless. We'll talk all about it right here on the Straight Up Saints podcast.
You're listening to the Straight Up Saints podcast.
What is up, Who Dat Nation? Welcome back inside another edition of the Straight Up Saints podcast. I'm your host, Chris Rosvoglu, and as always, we're brought to you by Scott Fickner Injury Lawyers. You've been injured in any kind of accident, car, truck, 18-wheeler, or hurt offshore. Scott Fickner handles it all. You give them a call at 504-500-1111 for a free consultation. They'll always fight for the win. I've mentioned this a million times, and I'll mention a million more. When it comes to fighting for the win, that's something the Saints do not do. They are now 2-6. And this season, which started off pretty fun, has become just an absolute chore for us Saints fans to watch. And there's so many things I could point to today, and I'll bring up as many thoughts that kind of run through my head before I turn it over to you guys. And as I always like to remind you guys, if you guys enjoy our content here at Buku Media, A, can you guys give us a like? We greatly appreciate it. It helps out the channel. But B, get your comments in so I can pull them up later and see what the Who Dat Nation has to say about this team and overall your thoughts. So put them in the comments and we'll get them going later in our fan Q&A portion of the show. But let's just talk about this 2024 squad right now, because it's bordering on the point of it's insulting watching the Saints. And it's not me trying to exaggerate. It's not me trying to be, a complainer, although I do complain a lot. We have reached the point where just watching this team takes the joy out of watching football. Because watching football is supposed to be fun, right? It's an electric sport. There's so many great athletes in this league. And yet watching the Saints makes me so fucking aggravated because it is the same shit every time. You know what you're good for? A bad offense with some sloppy penalties, with some stupid coaching decisions, and then a defense by the second half that eventually kind of gets tapped into submission. And what does that form? That forms a team that has lost 6 games in a row, with 4 of those losses being by at least 13 points in those games. And the last 3 losses are by at least, 18 points. So spare me any excuses for this team. Don't mention injuries today. Injuries are a big one, right? Dennis Allen brought up injuries. Mickey Loomis brought up injuries. Got Pete Werner back today. He looked really good. Got Olave back today. He looked really good. Got Taysom back today. He made plays until they decided not to use him. Got back Lucas Patrick. Got back Cesar Ruiz. So you got back guys. You got back guys today. And I know you didn't have Derek Carr, and that's a big point, right? Because Derek Carr is the best quarterback on this roster. But spare me the injury excuse. The Chargers are not a dynamic team. I talked about it coming into this game. I said for the Saints, this could be a game that they hang around because the Chargers are 26th in points allowed and 25th in, I'm sorry, not points allowed, points scored, 26th ranked offense and 25th ranked offense in yards totaled. So what do you go out and do? You let Ladd McConkey go for over 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. You let Justin Herbert make a ton of big plays with his legs. And obviously Justin Herbert put some, passes in incredible spots, and you got to tip your cap when a great quarterback makes a great throw. But man, the explosive plays that a defense led by Dennis Allen gives up, you can't defend that. And the offense, we are getting to the point where watching the Saints offense is so fucking unbearable. I literally rather grab 2 forks and just stab my eyes out than watch this. It doesn't matter if it's Carr, doesn't matter if it's Rattler, doesn't matter if it's Hayner. It is all shit. Just do you want, gold wrap shit, silver wrap shit, platinum wrap shit, whatever wrap of shit you want, it's still shit. It still stinks watching this offense. So that part stinks. Defense stinks. Dennis Allen's walking up the sidelines, coaching like a conservative moron, which, you know what? Maybe we're the morons, and he's the one that's got job security, and that's why he's able to do what he does. So I really cannot take watching this team anymore. They are broken on every level. On every level. There's nothing they do well outside of get on my goddamn nerves every single Sunday. That's the only thing this team does well. The only thing. So kudos to them for that. But it is enough. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again. If they don't fire Dennis Allen this week, just tell your fan base you don't give a fuck what they think. Because we are being forced to watch 6 straight weeks of them losing in the dumbest way possible, in the most boring way possible. And it's so infuriating. And I truly think the only way the Saints are going to fire Dennis Allen is when they get to that Falcons game and that dome has a bunch of Atlanta fans. Because I don't want that. You don't want that. But maybe that'll send a fucking message to this team, because apparently when they lose 6 in a row, we get told, got to look beyond the results. What stat do you want me to look at that tells me the Saints are a good football team? They don't stop the run. They don't stop the pass. They don't pass the football. They don't run the football. They don't protect their quarterback. Their field goal kicker, finally, chance to make it a one-score game. That one goes wide right. What do they do well? Please answer the question. There is no answer to that question. So the only way they're going to fire Dennis Allen, honestly, is if they go to see their dome filled with the opposing team's fan base. That's probably the only way, because that's what matters, right? That type of embarrassment, when it's financial, when it's a pride thing, that's okay. But when you put this product out there, we can just keep watching it. 6 straight weeks of this. 2-6. 2-6. I mean, and Dennis Allen is 26-52 as a head coach. He's got twice as many losses as a head coach. What person can do their job well 25% of the time and still keep their job? I guess only in America, right? Like, this is fucking crazy that at 26-52, this guy can keep his job. I don't get it. And I never will. I truly never will. So let's talk about the quarterback. I've ranted enough about Dennis Allen, ranted enough about what this team has done as direction. Spencer Rattler gets benched today. I think it was the right move. You had to kind of change something up. I thought Spencer struggled today. Now, Jake didn't exactly light it up. Drops were apparent. Now, some of them were high throws, right? Rattler had a couple high throws. Hayner had a high throw to Alvin that gets dropped on an angle route, and he kind of had him too. So quarterbacks aren't great. Benching Rattler, to me, does it mean that this kid's career is over? No. Have I seen anything that really made me impressed during this run with Spencer Rattler? Also no. And I think that's where maybe the concern part is. But I'm going to be honest, guys. The more I watch this team, the more I realize we can hype up Spencer Rattler. We can hype up Jake Hayner. We can knock them. We can do whatever the hell we want. No one's having success with this coaching staff and this offensive line and just this lack of explosiveness and honestly lack of energy. This team looks like it's checked out. So for me, it doesn't matter. I think it was the right move benching Rattler. You got to give yourself a spark. You can't keep doing the same thing. So I commend the Saints for making that change. But you know what? You're just throwing them out into the fire and hoping that they can put out the fire by themselves, and that's not going to happen. It's not. So that's kind of where I'm at with Rattler. Do I think he's done anything to impress me during this stretch? Not really. He's probably done more bad than good, in my opinion. If Jake played during that stretch, I probably would have said the same thing, guys. So it has no personal bias towards either quarterback. I think the Saints had to be in the quarterback market regardless. There's not a high-end arm on this team that you feel like, hey, that could be the future. So they should always be looking for a quarterback until they know for sure that they have their guy. But yeah, Rattler getting benched today, I think it was in the moment the right move, right? Rattler was 12 of 24, weren't really moving the ball well outside of one drive. So you put in Jake, still couldn't score a touchdown, which is kind of fucking hilarious. If I told you that 8 points, you're like, all right, nice. Touchdown and a 2-point conversion. No, a safety and 2 field goals, because that's what this team's good for. So benching Rattler, I'm okay with it. As for what's next, when Carr's healthy, throw him in there. And when you keep losing with him too, then we can stop all the excuses. So that's why I want Derek Carr to play, because I know deep down the Saints are going to go, well, we were 2-3 before Carr got hurt, as if that makes a fucking difference. I mean, they still would have lost a lot of these games even with Carr. Would have lost the Bucs game with Carr, probably would have lost the Broncos game with Carr, would have lost, who they played today. I already forgot. Chargers, they would have lost that game with Carr too. So spare me the excuses. When Carr's healthy, throw him in there. So when the losses continue to rack up, I would love to know what excuse the Saints are going to give us fans next, because that seems to be all they're good for, excuses. So is the season over? Seems like a rhetorical question. We still got to talk about it. Before I do that, though, I want to get a quick word from one of our sponsors, Scott McNair.
And Jonathan Williams brings it all the way back from the 20-yard line.
What a terrific way to end the first half.
And tonight's game is brought to you by Scott McNair Injury Attorneys. They always fight for the win.
You mean attorney? It's one lawyer. Scott McNair?
No, there's 2.
Brad Scott and David McNair.
Well, it's confusing.
That it is. They could have picked a better name.
Scott McNair, Injury Attorneys, we fight for the win.
Once again, thank you to Scott McNair for being part of the program. We greatly appreciate it. So I'm not going to beat around the bush. I'll make this one very quick. Is the Saints season over? Yes, it is over. They are 2-6. Falcons just got to 5 wins. The Saints haven't shown us anything to make us believe they can win a football game. And lucky for them, the only reason that their losing streak might snap is because they play the Panthers. And I'm not fucking stupid. I know, well, I am stupid, but I'm not stupid for this. I know that the Saints deep down, they see that Panthers game. They're chalking it up as a win. So you're not firing Dennis Allen this week because you're assuming he's going to win that game. So then you could turn around and be like, we won that. The losing streak's over. We got Derek Carr back. Now we need you fans to play a role in that Falcons game because that could be pivotal. Fuck out of my face with that shit. Get out of my face because you can fire Dennis Allen and Darren Rizzi can come in as your interim coach and you will win that Panthers game with the way the Panthers play football. Don't give me that shit that because of Dennis Allen, that's why you'll win that Panthers game. And even then, if you do, let's say you beat the Panthers, what are you going to do to convince us fans that this season will be back on track? You are 4 games under 500. You still have to play the Rams. You'll probably lose to them. You still got to play the Packers. You're probably going to lose to them. You still have to play the Commanders. You're probably going to lose to them. The way Jameis Winston played today, you're probably losing to the Browns. You're probably losing 1 more to the Falcons. I mean, there's probably at least 4 more losses on this schedule. At least. So is the season over? Yes, and it is so frustrating, guys, that we have reached this point where it is not even November, and I can't get excited for a Saints football game. The only way I'll be excited is if they fire Dennis Allen. The only way. And I'm going to be honest, guys. We're going to reach the point where the longer they hold on to him, the better off they're just going to keep him in there instead of firing him until after the end of the season because he might be the best thing for them to get a number 1 pick or a number 2 pick. So either fire him today or this week, or don't fire him at all at this point. Just let him lead you to a top 3 pick and then go get your coach after this. That's the point we've reached with Dennis Allen. So thanks, Saints, yet again, for making us fans feel like it's not even November and meaningful football is out the window. Instead, we get just extremely disgusting football to watch every Sunday. So I've done enough ranting. I'll probably do more ranting. But I want to hear what you guys have to say. So let's get into our fan Q&A presented by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere. Nothing runs like a deer. Going to get to some of these super chats, and then we'll get over to what you guys had to say. Half-Life with a super chat says, it's time for the hashtag Fire Dennis Allen shirt, please. First off, thank you so much for the support. Second, yeah, I mean, I know last year, I don't want to get it wrong, but I believe it was the 28-3 guys who made a Fire Dennis Allen shirt. I own one of those shirts. So maybe I'll wear it next stream, but I think something's got to change. Like, is it Saints fans wearing Fire Dennis Allen shirts? Is it Saints fans chanting Fire Dennis Allen in the Superdome? Like, what needs to happen for them to wake up and say, you know what, let's make this move? Sergio with a super chat. Thank you so much for the support. Sergio says, I'm glad the Rattler deriding is finally over. Fuaga hype has died down as well. All I want this season is an Olave 1,000-yard season. Fuck this team. Well, I mean, Rattler hype definitely died down. You know, I mean, every week it just felt like it was getting progressively worse. Understandable, right? The best half of football was the first half, and there's not a lot of tape on you at the pro level against the Bucs, and then the Bucs made the adjustments, and he just hasn't looked good since. As for Fuaga, kind of the ebbs and flows of having a rookie left tackle, I'm not really worried about him long term. I just think his O-line as a whole has just gotten incredibly worse without Eric McCoy, which makes sense. He is the glue to the O-line. As for Olave, great game today by Olave. He did have that one drop, but you know what? This was the first game that I feel like they were like, yeah, let's get the ball to our best playmaker. And shocker, he delivers with over 100 yards. So hopefully we get more out of that. Ed with the super chat here. Thank you for the support. Ed says, this franchise is a joke. We will lose to the Panthers. Watch. Offensive joke. Defense misses tackles and straight up gets punked. DA's getting an extension. If DA gets an extension, guys, I don't know what I'll do. I don't know what I'll do if DA gets an extension. I genuinely don't know what the hell I'll do because you'll reach the point. I know I will reach the point where it's like, I don't want to watch this team. I'm still here. I'm still here for the next, what we got, 9 games left. I can mentally handle 9 more games of DA. I cannot handle another season of Dennis Allen. I just can't do it. I cannot watch this team with this moron leading them. It's just tough. Got another super chat from Ed says, did Cam Jordan play today? LOL, no pressure on the QB. It's funny because some guys were getting pressure. I thought Chase Young made some plays today. Brian Brzee made some plays today in terms of getting pressure. Nathan Shepard decided it was okay to put Justin Herbert in the angle lock. So some guys on the D-line made plays. Cam Jordan, not one of them. Another super chat from Ed says, can't wait till Jameis comes and destroys us. I mean, with the way he played today, I think that probably is what will happen. You know, that's probably what will happen at this rate. Let's go to Forgive says, I mean, it gets to the point that this team's literally getting bullied. Just make the change. Yeah, I don't know when you do it, right? And I'm not trying to single guys out, right? But you have guys like John Hendricks, who's excellent reporter. And John is way better than me when it comes to being level-headed. And even he seems very frustrated. Kind of asking, when's enough? When's the change going to happen? So I don't know. I don't know when it's going to happen, but it feels like we're getting close. When the reporters who are way more level-headed than loudmouths like me are starting to ask that question, you're getting close. Fred says, it's been a long time since I was this disinterested in a Saints game. Thanks, Dennis Allen. Margaret said, announcer said it's best they should have started Hayner. DA has a loser mentality. That he does. Forgive says, at what point does Mickey say, okay, it's time to look into the results? I wish I had the answer for you. I have no idea. Genuinely, I have no idea. Jack says, firing DA won't solve everything, but it's the first step towards a long way into fixing this terrible team. It's at least acknowledgement that this shit is not working. Got a super chat from Cliff says, this team is done. This season is done. Let's ride this shit vibes to a top 2 pick. First off, thank you so much for the support, Cliff. Second, yeah, I mean, that's the only thing I will accept for keeping Dennis Allen. If deep down they think, hey, this is going to get us a top 3 pick, cool. I will accept that answer and I'll live with it. Because firing DA is not going to magically get them into the playoff picture. It would, though, fix the vibes around this team. Because at some point, these guys are going to check out. I mean, they're 2-6. It's human nature to just check out of this season. So, like you said, season's done. Totally agree. If the argument is to just ride this thing out for a top 2 pick, I can live with it. But that's about it. Fred says you can't even blame injuries because Winston's going out there today against a better Ravens team and balling. Common denominator is all this ass suckage is DA. Yeah, look, and again, injuries they could be a reason. They can't be an excuse. And I think for DA and his regime, they want to make it all the excuse. But the reality is Pete Werner looked really fucking good today. And Chris Olave had over 100 yards today. And Taysom Hill made some really big plays today, or at least early in the game. So what are you going to use as an excuse? You're going to say quarterback? Cool. You knew Spencer Rattler has been bad for the last 6 quarters. You decided to play him. You didn't get Jake Haener ready for this game. You decided to get Rattler ready. And guess what? Rattler looked less than prepared. Again, so that falls on coaching. Jack says, you can't pay me to watch next week's battle for the number 1 overall pick game. Oh, you can. Oh, you can pay me to watch that. Because I'm going to watch shit football. I want to watch the shittiest of shit footballs. And Panthers, Saints, 2 worst teams in the league right now for my money. Matthew says, how do we even fix this team? I don't know. I know firing DA would be a step. Honestly, if they can get a different GM and if you can't move Loomis from the team, can he at least be like the president or something and have a different GM making decisions? I don't trust this regime. I'll just flat out say it. I don't trust this regime to get it right. I don't. I think they're so comfortable and set in their ways. I don't see it. Forgive says, now they're going to beat the Panthers with Carr and say, see, we have a good team when we're healthy. Let's take it one game at a time and finish 7-10. Yeah, that's my fear. Running back the same movie for 3 straight years. Sergio with the super chat says, I'll be admitted to a psych unit if DA stays. I think, Sergio, I'll be there with you. I said it before. I actually was texting one of my group chats with my friends, and I was like, I genuinely feel like I'm going to enter a psych ward if this does not change with Dennis Allen. Because you're watching the same movie every single time, and you know what the result's going to be. You know what the result's going to be. And it doesn't change. And us fans, I'm not saying we're smarter than coaches. We're not. Coaches are 1,000 times smarter than us. But at some point, as an organization, how do you see this product and think it's acceptable? And the worst part is, if you read between the lines, it's like you read articles with people who are really plugged in, and they'll say, well, signing Alvin Kamara means that's probably not, there's not going to be a lot of turnover this offseason. At what point does it end, man? You weren't good year 1. You want to say you were good last year? Cool. Your schedule was a fucking joke and you missed the playoffs. And now you're one of the jokes of the league this year at 2-6. Road Warrior Rick with a super chat. Thank you so much for the support. Says Dennis Allen has a longer leash than the Patriots gave Belichick. Well, Yeah, and we shouldn't be surprised. I'm glad you mentioned Belichick because last offseason we were reminded that Belichick had a slow start to his career, that Chuck Noll had a slow start to his career, that Tom Landry had a slow start to his career, just to justify keeping Dennis fucking Allen around. Really? Like, that's how low we've fallen? It's insane. It feels like they're trying to justify hiring DA and going out there and trying to prove that Dennis Allen's a good coach. I'm telling you, Dennis Allen's a good coach. You can try all you want. No one is going to believe this organization when it comes to DA. We've made up our minds, and honestly, we're right about making up our minds. This guy is not good at all. Let's keep it rolling here. Half-Life says, why do I feel like he isn't getting fired after this game? Job security at all-time high, man. Totally agree. Tobias says, DA needs to be gone by tomorrow morning. I don't care about the firing a coach mid-season argument. This team is ass with or without DA. Yeah, I don't care about if you fire him, you might win more games. Good. I haven't seen this football team win a game since September 15th. I'd like to see them win a football game. That's where people get mixed up because I'm all negative on Twitter, maybe a little too negative at times, but a lot of people think I get enjoyment out of the Saints losing because I don't like Dennis Allen. I want to see the Saints win. And when the Saints started 2-0, I said I would rather look like an idiot and be wrong for all my Dennis Allen takes if that means the Saints win. But guess what? Saints keep losing. And yeah, sure, I'm right. I don't want to be right. I want to watch the Saints win. So if firing DA brings in your interim coach and you win some games, fuck it. I'll take it. I'll take it because spare me the draft pick talk. This team has wasted so many draft picks that it doesn't really matter where they're picking at this point. So kind of like spare me that part. First round pick, they've wasted on Peyton Turner, wasted on Marcus Davenport. Second round picks, we've wasted on Isaiah Foskey. Kendrick Miller, I didn't even mention today. He finally plays well, and guess what? He's fucking hurt again. This organization has done nothing right for the last 3 years. Nothing. Jack says, pretty sure an assassin is the only way to take out DA at this point. You might not be wrong, but that's not my job. And I don't hate DA the person. Just don't like him as a coach. I don't think he's a good coach. Matthew says we actually have a top 5 draft pick after all the upsets today. Hallelujah. Whodat712 says DA shouldn't be allowed to take orders at Mickey D after this game. Raven Key says, glad we lost. Screw the front office for making the city suffer like this. Fuck a top 5 pick. This is a problem that's going to take more than top 5 pick. Yep, and that is what I agree with too. And that's a great point. If the Saints, let's say, go like 4-13 and they're picking top 5, or 5-12 and they're picking top 5, they're not going to just immediately save the franchise because of that pick. The next coach has to be the right coach. The GM has to be the right GM. The players you bring in outside of that top 5 pick need to be the right guys. And you have not proven as an organization you could do that. Take last year's draft class. Get rid of Brzee for a sec. Kendrick Miller's been a waste. Foskey hasn't even been a waste. I don't even know where the fuck he is. That's not true. I saw him out on the town last week. But outside of that, where is he? Where is he on the field? He's not there. Saldivari, useless. You're wasting draft classes, and after a year, we already know they're a waste. It's a problem. Jack says, wonder if the Saints will improve their tackling this week. Yeah. So glad Dennis Allen bragged about that to the media. So glad he bragged about it. Tobias says DA needs to go because he can't coach. Kubiak can go because play calling is ass. Mickey can go because of the terrible drafts and contracts, and the medical staff sucks, so get rid of them too. Yeah, it is a top-to-bottom systemic failure for this Saints team. It's not on all DA. It's not all on DA. He is the easy target for people like me, and I get that, and I admit that. And I know if they fire DA tomorrow, I'd be happy in the moment, but I know more work needs to be done. I'm not stupid about that. But, man, you got to start somewhere. Start somewhere, and we could slowly start getting rid of problems. But they're just deciding to let all these problems kind of fester. Forgive says this team looks so disconnected from all other teams in the NFL. No team gets manhandled how the 2024 Saints get manhandled. Jacob says 3 straight blowout losses, but hey, you have to look beyond the results. Such an unserious organization. Jaden says we might as well just sit our starters for the rest of the year. Honestly. Eddie King says Saints went from 2-0 to 2-6, just like my fantasy team. Ah, damn. Hopefully your fantasy team makes a comeback because the Saints ain't making a comeback. That's for sure. Let's keep it rolling. Let's see. T Mama says we were at SoFi and in person, it's worse. I bet it is. I hope you enjoyed the stadium though. That looks like a beautiful stadium. So I hope that part was pretty great. But I can definitely see how it was worse in person. Will says at some point we got to talk about Clint's lack of ability to make adjustments. Sean Payton was able to make things work with less. Look, guys, I think it's okay to say it. Kubiak's not good. And that's fine. And if anyone says, you know what, Chris, that's ridiculous. We got 2 good weeks of Kubiak and 6 bad weeks of Kubiak. You can choose what you want. He does not adjust. It is the same old shit. I don't love his passing game. If he can't just spam outside zone runs and they work, what is he good for? So it's okay for us to say that, and you're not wrong, Will. Like, I've seen Sean Payton, even if it's sporadic, make shit work with Trevor Siemian throwing the goddamn ball to Kevin White. Denzel Allen says, Cam Ward, you are a saint, you or Shedeur Sanders. We aren't in a position to draft a quarterback right now. I mean, I think quarterback's the most important position. So if they like one, they absolutely are in position to do that. Got a super chat from Hill Mendoza. Thank you so much for the support. Says Saints suck, which is unfortunate. But what doesn't suck is Jaden Daniels saving my money line, baby. In Jaden Daniels, we trust. So I'm trying to catch up on this. I didn't watch the video. I'm assuming they won on a Hail Mary. That's what it seems like. So, hey, I mean, good for Commanders, man. Commanders are what is that? 6-2 now. What a year for them. And the Saints are gonna have to face them later this year. So I'm sure that will turn out to be pretty ugly. Eric says DA has to go. Have not lost 6 games in a row since 2005. Only 6 points by the offense and 1 touchdown in 8 quarters is unacceptable. It is. Apparently, it's acceptable for the Saints. Boston Ballfont says 0 touchdowns is unbelievable. Nola Gang 09 says this team is garbage fire from hell. Saints 41 says this is what 10 days of DA preparation gets you. That's a great point too. I'm so glad you mentioned that. Coming into this game, I did the preview show and I was talking about things that I like for this matchup. I loved that the Chargers were an explosive offense. LOL, Saints go out there and give up explosive plays. But I love the rest factor. Chargers were coming off a short week. They played on Monday night. The Saints had 10 days to prep for this game. And they get blown out. Matthew says, I'm happy we finally made Olave a focal point of targets. Nice to be reminded how damn good he is. Yeah, one of the few, really good players on this team, it feels like. K-Rose88 says, fire Dennis Allen, fire Dennis Allen, fire Dennis Allen. End of story. Lance says, need a pass rusher, wide receiver, 1, and running back. Carl says, unreal, this organization has become a dumpster fire. Weed at 24 says, we had the one chance to get a touchdown in the end, and we call a stupid pass call. Tobias says, funny how the Saints choose this year to probably have a top 3 draft when there may not be a good quarterback in the draft. I've accepted, you're not wrong. The narrative is this is a weak QB draft. I've kind of accepted that we all as a group just won't know who's going to be good and who isn't because the NFL is so damn unpredictable. It's just so tough. There are years where you think, oh, this is going to be a good quarterback class. And all of a sudden they all kind of flame out. Look at Trevor Lawrence's year. Trevor Lawrence, pick 1. He's been under, I won't say underperforming completely, but there's a lot of moments where I'm underwhelmed by Trevor Lawrence. And I think to a certain degree, he's very overrated. Zach Wilson's not a starter. Trey Lance, not a starter. Mac Jones, not a starter. Justin Fields, not a starter. So even the draft classes you might think are really good on paper, they don't turn out. Now, some do work, right? In 2018, you got Baker, Josh Allen, and Lamar. So you got 2 MVP level quarterbacks in Josh and Lamar, and then Baker, who's a solid starter. And even Darnold, I know he has not lived up to draft expectations, but he's been a solid quarterback at least this year. And then Josh Rosen, who's out of the league. But it's so tough to predict quarterbacks. So I really don't know. Right now, it looks like a bad quarterback class, but things can change in an instant. Devion says someone said don't buy tickets. That might be the message that needs to be sent, guys. And I don't even know. I don't even know. I just feel like this team is so hopeless right now, man. So hopeless. It really is sad to see how far they've fallen. See what else we got going on here. Matthew says, I thought Haener looked decent. What were your thoughts? I thought he looked fine. Not Haener to me has the looks of a backup quarterback, right? He doesn't do anything terribly well, but he doesn't do anything egregiously bad. And I think Jake can carve out a career backup role for himself. I don't think he has the arm to be a high level quarterback. I don't see it, but I think Jake shows at times a guy that can maybe be a good backup quarterback in this league, which is good to have. Like, if you told me you get your backup quarterback with a 4th round pick, I'll live with it, right? You can do a lot worse things with a 4th round pick. But I don't think he has that like high end potential. But I think Jake looks calm under center, which is great. Just call me. Trey says, dog, this team is depressing as fuck to watch. Chargers suck, and you still lost by double digits 6 in a row, and a lot of injured players come back, but they still lost. Losing coach means you'll lose. TJB says he apologized to the Falcons. Yeah, that's when he should have got fired. Big Smokey says 8 points is pathetic. AI says season ticket holders need to sell their tickets to the away team. Don't buy no tickets and convince other fans not to as well. That might be the move at this point. I'm not going to tell people what to do with their tickets and their money. It ain't my place. But I think that might be like, it's a business. I think that might be the thing that ends up getting this team to make a change if their dome starts emptying out. And I kind of think at this rate, it's gonna. Like, they're 2-6. If they lose next Sunday and they're 2-7, woof. I don't know who's showing up for that Browns game. Lance says they're calling plays as if they're evaluating for next year. I believe they've written this year off. You can write this year off all you want. But if you think that you can sell another year of Dennis Allen to this fan base, good luck. Good luck. The Houdat Nation will not play with that. There's no way. Nicholas says DA has to be fired. The excuse was the team was injured. Now that quite a few starters return and we still got blown out, it's clear he needs to go and the rebuild needs to start. Not wrong. Got a super chat here from Justin to Get Me Cash. What happens if Panthers beat the Saints? If the Panthers beat the Saints, we got to start talking about like number 1 pick. That's where the conversation shifts towards. We could figure out coach, management, whatever later. Number 1 pick is what we have to start discussing. And that will be the conversation if they lose to the Panthers, right? You lose to Carolina, don't tell me there's like, oh, these are a couple wins on the schedule. Don't tell me that. If you can't beat Carolina, it is over. Because Carolina is just going out there getting blown out on a weekly basis. So I think for the Saints, that will be the conversation. Thank you for the super chat and a great question, by the way. I do like that. Cameron says, disappointed again. Don't know where you go with this team. Dennis needs to go. I'm the most positive Saints fan, but it changes here. Love AK being the cornerstone of them. Tank and get a high pick. Gabriel says we should operate the offseason as though we have no QB. Rattler ain't it. I agree, Gabriel. They have no QB of the future right now. And it's okay to admit that. Like, it is okay for us to say that. They don't have their QB. They got to find him. And when they do and they find the right coach, that's when we'll know that this team is back. But right now, they don't have either, and they're so far away from it, which is just tough. Hell says, this defense was there until the offense couldn't move. Then it all fell apart. Yeah, I mean, it's a time and possession thing. It's a getting worn down thing. Now they give up explosive plays, and, you know, like the touchdown to Lab McConkey shouldn't happen. But yeah, other parts, I knew it too. I am not going to be that harsh on the defense today, and I don't think the defense was good, but I'm not going to be that harsh on the defense today when in reality, you start to feel like no matter what you do, unless the defense scores points, you're going to lose. And when that mindset starts to come in, you've lost the battle already, you know? AI says all of them have bad leadership. Eddie says bad team, terrible coaching, atrocious leadership, and the worst cap space in professional sports. Yep. Troy says Jim Mora could do better with this team. He probably could. Sean says fire these morons now. Cam says Rattler's a rookie, but this is year 3 with DA. Year 3 for DA in New Orleans. Year 6 for him as a coach, head coach. Crazy, man. James says dead last in defensive yards per game. Dead fucking last. I'm going to be so annoyed when DA goes back to being an elite DC on another team. That's fine. Truthfully, guys, though, DA's defense has never made the stop when it matters. That I truly believe that. And I feel that in my heart that, like, he is a good defensive coordinator, but he's no Spagnuolo. I'm sorry. Like, that's how I feel about it. You go watch the Chiefs, it feels like every game their defense makes that stop that you need to win. And I just don't think that Dennis Allen's defense does that. Even in the prime of the Dennis Allen defensive era, didn't really see it. Blaine says if they're trying to get Allen fired, fire him. Eric says Cam has not done anything this season except steal money from the Saints. Gabriel says if you were a new front office coach, who on the team would you keep? Both players and position coaches, trying to think constructively to avoid a brain aneurysm. I mean, players-wise, obviously Olave, Shaheed, those are kind of building blocks you're hoping. Alvin, you're keeping, obviously. Offensive line, Fuaga, Penning, McCoy, Ruiz. Got to get another guard, though. That's going to be paramount. Tight end room. You need all new tight ends. Need a bunch of tight ends. Need new tight ends. You need another receiver. Defensively, need to revamp at defensive end. Need another defensive tackle. Maybe another linebacker because DeMario is getting older, so you need someone with Pete Werner. Safety, got to get some safeties in the building. Cornerback, Alante, obviously, and Kool-Aid McKinstry are the building blocks. Adebo probably gone now after that injury. And Lattimore, I would move off of Lattimore. So, yeah, I mean, a lot there. Coaching-wise, I don't know. Like, I think you just bring in a new coach and let him bring in his guys. I don't think there's anyone here that would, I don't know. I don't know if there's any coaches that are worth bringing back. I like Darren Rizzi. I think the special teams unit is usually good, but maybe Rizzi has a better offer somewhere else if the Saints make a difference. Sean says, hire Vrabel. AI says, Chris, is there anything stopping you from being able to stream the Saints post-game conference while you're live? It would be interesting to be able to watch the post-game and respond. I mean, I guess I could do that. I would just have to make sure I don't have conflicting audio so you guys aren't hearing it come through. I definitely can work on that. I think the biggest problem I have is setting up my second screen while I'm live streaming. For some reason, it all just kind of goes haywire. So if I could get that fixed, then absolutely I can kind of do both. But I can work on that. If that's something you guys would like, I could definitely work on that. Leroy says they're out there looking like the 2014 Raiders. This season is cooked. Raven says, can't run the ball, can't pass the ball, and can't defend the run, can't defend the pass, and can't kick the ball. Yeah, literally can't do anything. Literally cannot do anything, this team. Bayou Boys 504 says the player is getting paid too much to be playing like ass regardless of coaching. I'm cool with that. I'm absolutely cool with that comment. I think that's a fair comment, I do think there are a lot of guys on this team that get paid an awful lot and don't do enough. And that is okay to say. Lattimore wasn't great today before he got hurt. Alvin had a crucial drop. Olave had a crucial drop. Trying to think what else we got to, Cam gets paid so much money. Not it anymore. DeMario has slowed down. I think Pete's kind of the best linebacker on this team at this point. So I don't disagree with that. Big Smokey says Bryce throwing 6 touchdowns against us. If that happens, that'd be fucking wild, man. See what else we got. Alex says, honestly, can't see us getting another win. Team has given up on DA, and the coaching is abysmal on both sides. I mean, they'll get another win. Football is a long season. Got enough guys on their team. I think that they can get another win. Where is the win outside of probably next Sunday against the Panthers? And even then, no guarantee. Gabriel says, as an LA Saints fan, it has been incredibly easy to not give a fuck about the Saints season with the Dodgers and now Lakers killing it. Bring me something worth watching, and I'm back, bitches. I mean, yeah, Dodgers 2 wins away from the World Series at the expense of my Yankees. And then Lakers look fantastic, 3-0. JJ Redick looked like a pretty good coach. Got to give them that at least. B0224 says, it's time to accept we very well may be the worst team in the league. It's possible, man. It's possible. Leroy says, meanwhile, Dennis tells us they don't teach dirty play, but got a defensive tackle out there, Gator rolling while on his back. Yeah, that was a cheap move from Nathan Shepard, man. I thought that was lame as hell. Jimbo says, positively, we play Carolina next, so shouldn't be 7 losses in a row, right? Yeah, it shouldn't. Keyword is shouldn't. But who the hell knows? The worst shit to come out of this Dennis Allen era is the fucking dumbass quarterback competition fans who can't take off their ignorance blinders and pay attention to why everyone looks bad. Yeah, I think that's fair, right? There's so many factions of Saints fans that want to be right, and that's fine. It's nice to be right, but you can put whoever you want on this team at quarterback. And yes, certain guys will elevate the ceiling to this team because certain guys are just insane, right? Like Lamar and Josh Allen, and obviously Mahomes, but particularly Lamar and Josh Allen because of their legs. I think those are the type of guys that they're plug and play, and I know you're going to be better with them at quarterback, but you are capped because of your coaching staff, because of your roster, because of your lack of cap space, because of your lack of success rates on draft picks. So there's just so many really, really big problems with this team. This team's a joke. Edit King says in the past 3 games, the Saints have been outscored 39-110. That is freaking absurd. Ed says Alante Taylor would lead the league in sacks if he didn't miss the quarterback twice a game. Not wrong about that. Captain Deluxe says, what's the excuse today? Kamara gets paid, Taysom sits on the bench, and we are 2-6. I'm wondering what the excuse is as well. I would love to know what the excuse is for this team. Because right now, I just don't see it. I don't see what the excuse would be. So, guys, I'll get into more comments for you. But before I do that, I want to get a quick word from one of our sponsors here on the program, DraftKings Sportsbook.
TD, Tutty, taking it to the house, whatever you call a touchdown. They matter more at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Ready to place your first NFL bet? Try betting on something simple like a player to score a touchdown. Ready to do a touchdown dance of your own? To do so, you have to score big with DraftKings Sportsbook, the #1 place to bet touchdowns. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code BOOT. That's code BOOT, BOOT, for new customers to get $250 in bonus bets when you bet just $5 and get 1 month of NFL Plus Premium only on DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in New Hampshire, Oregon, and Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/ftball. NFL Plus Premium offer available only to new and former NFL Plus subscribers. Additional NFL Plus Premium terms at nfl.com/terms.
Once again, thank you to DraftKings Sportsbook for being part of the program. So let's get back into more comments that you guys have here. We'll start off with Matthew. Good question here. Says, do you actually have any idea what Mickey meant when he said you have to look beyond the result? Doesn't make any sense to me. I don't know what's going on through his head, nor do I care at this point, but I feel like what he was trying to say was you see 2-5 in the standings and you assume that's a really bad football team, but injuries. That's what I thought. That's the way I took it. Now, he could have said something else. He could have meant something else. But the way I took it was he doesn't think they're actually 2-5 because when they were healthy and they had Eric McCoy and all of them, they were 2-0. That's what I think he meant. And if he did mean that, that is a loser mentality and that is a kind of, moral victory standpoint. And I've said it many times, there's no moral victories in the NFL. You either win the game or you lose the game. And in a very rare occasion, you tie the game, which still feels like a loss. James says, it has to be the worst team in the league to watch by far. If you're going to be bad, at least be interesting somewhere. Yeah, and they're not, they're not. You go find some bad teams, and there's a reason to be optimistic or reason to have some sliver of hope. Where's the hope with the Saints, guys? There isn't, Imagine having to play defense for this shit show of an offense, not defending DA, just the players. Yeah, I'm cool with that. I'm definitely cool with that. And I said, at some point the defense will check out because they'll be like, dude, if we don't score for the offense, we lose. And what style of football can you rely on that? That's not sustainable by any means. Jose says, well, I'm out. See you guys next year. Who'd Have Forever says Mickey Loomis is going to destroy this organization just to prove Dennis Allen's a good head coach. He'll take all his life if that's what it takes. Because Dennis Allen will never be a good head coach, so he'll be waiting a while. Matthew says, if we had a good draft pick since Olave, Alante, I think, was a really good pick for this team. Still early, but I think Fuaga is going to give us more good than bad, which is going to be important. Brzee, I'm on the fence about. I think Brzee makes some good plays, but run defense-wise, that's not the type of defense act you want. But yeah, they definitely got to get better at drafting, so I can't argue that with you. Justin says, I'm a diehard Saints fan that I don't think we'll ever be back at the top of the mountain again. Drew Brees and Sean Payton were sent to us from God after Katrina. Look, I start to think about that too. I know it's easy to fall into that trap because right now the Saints are at the lowest of lows. We are at rock bottom or close to rock bottom. But you never know, man. I thought the Texans would be crap for a while. Hired D'Amico, drafted CJ Stroud, and now they're a Super Bowl contender. So, stuff changes on a dime in this league. Carlos says, until we have a good coach, we can't talk new QB. We can talk new QB. They need a new QB, guys. It's okay to say that. Now, if you want to keep your hopes on a 4th round pick and a 5th round pick, cool. That's fine. I just don't think that's going to work out. I think we can start thinking QB if the Saints like one. If the Saints don't like one, all right, then you wait a year. But they got to start thinking it. K-Rose88 says, give me Travis Hunter. Fuck it, at least he's entertaining. That he is. He is extremely entertaining. And you just put him anywhere all over the field. So I definitely feel like Travis would up the vibes here in New Orleans. Who-Dat712 says, Chris, you have to check Jameis's post-game interview where he quotes Eminem, will make you laugh away, Saint status. I watched it before, actually. Jameis played well, so kudos to him. I was happy for him. And B, something about it because he was so serious before the game started. And then the man was quoting Eminem after the game, and I just couldn't help but laugh. Like, that's who Jameis is. Alex says we've turned into the Browns before Baker. We're going to rotate different quarterbacks for years and coaches. We become the Oakland Raiders with Dennis Allen. Like, that's kind of what we are. And if the Saints don't want to admit it, they're just going to really bury the fans and bury this team. If you go to the games, you're part of the problem. Gail's the one who needs to feel the pressure. Go at her. She's the one that has to fire him. That's fair. Baldy B says, so much more thankful for Carr now. Our offense sucks without him. Kamara isn't utilized properly. Only way Loomis leaves if he moves to president. He's never leaving the organization. Yeah, he's not getting out of here. No shot he's getting out of here. D23 says, how does a defensive head coach stick around this long when the defense isn't even good? I don't know. It's a fantastic question and one that can't be answered because I got no freaking clue. Remember that one time we were scoring 40 a game? Week 1 and 2? That feels like years ago. I'm not even kidding, guys. I'm not trying to be an exaggerating, dude. That feels like years ago. And I miss it because football was actually fun to watch then. Look at recent drafts. We want to pick second guys. CJ better than Bryce. Jaden Daniels better than Caleb. Being back-to-back years, so maybe it's a trend. Although Caleb and Jaden Daniels, at least there's like somewhat of a competition there. Bryce and CJ, there's none. Alex says Loomis must have been hanging out with Dallas fans sipping on that delusional juice. Dallas fans are still sipping on that shit, probably. Justin says, saw this comment before. Wesley says, if and when DA gets fired, how long until he joins the Denver staff? I don't know, man. Denver's defense is cooking. Vance Joseph has that defense cooking. I don't think he goes back to Denver. I could be wrong, guys. I don't think he goes to Denver. I do not think he reunites with Sean Payton. Brandon says, I want an offensive-minded coach like Ben Johnson and go get a top-notch defense coordinator. In theory, love the idea. In reality, though, no shot Ben Johnson comes to the Saints. So I love the idea, guys. Don't think he's coming to the Saints. This is a bad job to take. William says, don't forget we had Steve Spagnuolo. He didn't do it for us either. Yes, didn't do it for us in 2012, was it? So look now, though, what he's done with Kansas City and what they have now. And Spagnuolo is the perfect example of a coach who you realize is excellent as a coordinator and can't be a head coach. Because Spags was terrible with the Rams as a head coach. And I know people are going to mention he was bad with the Saints as a defense coordinator, like historically bad. And he was. Look at what the Chiefs do now with Spagnuolo's defense. And that defense, more times than not, is the reason why they win these close games. They make the stops that matter. Nappy G says, the Chiefs have Mahomes and way better personnel than Spags. Nola wouldn't succeed with this roster, especially an offense who can't score. That's not my point. Spagnuolo in New Orleans, yeah, right now would be terrible. That's not my point. My point is, DA, if we're praising him as a defensive coordinator, he never had that great moment as a defensive coordinator. He didn't. And if you think he did, you're lying. Because guess what? All we have to remember from Dennis Allen's defense, unfortunately, giving up the overtime drive to Kirk Cousins in the wild card round, giving up the Minnesota Miracle. Overtime, yeah, Drew Brees gets picked, couldn't get the stop. Understand? That happens too. Buccaneers, you want to blame Jared Cook? Fine. Tom Brady also had a big playoff game against him. So the Dennis Allen defense never, with him as a defense coordinator in the playoffs, made the game-defining stop outside of Panthers wild card round in the 2017 season, to me. And then it isn't to say Spags would fix the Saints. Spags wouldn't fix shit on the Saints. He'd probably make it worse. What I'm saying is Spags has found his role as a nightmare defensive coordinator that makes those stops. And you can't take him out of that role. That's where he's got to be. But that's where it's at. Let's see what else we got here. Ed says, I still think being a Jets fan is worse. I think so too, right? Jets fans came into the season with Super Bowl expectations, and they're 2-6, and they're finding ways to lose too. And theirs might be more frustrating because you brought in Aaron Rodgers. You bring in Devontae Adams now, and you fired Robert Saleh, who wasn't a good coach. I get that, but they've gotten worse. They haven't won a game without him. And losing to the Patriots today is rough. And if you lost to the Patriots and Drake May had the game of his life in his young career, fine. But Drake May got knocked out of that game, and Jacoby Brissett ends up leading them to win. That can't happen. Matthew says, seeing you react to DA's bullshit would be gold. All right, so maybe we'll go down that route. Ed says 6 weeks ago we scored 44. We scored 8 today. LOL. Shit shifted in a hurry. Justin to Get Me Cash says, what pick do you think the Saints can get for Lattimore or trade? I'll say a third. Yeah, probably. Probably right about that. 3rd round pick seems about the ballpark for what you could get for him. Also, trade Cam Jordan for 6. I don't think you get shit for Cam Jordan now. I don't know. I don't think you get anything. Honestly, what can you get for him? Noah says the longer Mickey takes to fire DA, the more I want him gone. If he can't make that decision, then what is he good for? It's a fair question, you know? Brandon says, Allen is probably just saying the same old stuff in his press conference right now anyway. He did admit he was asked about his job security, and he did admit that it is a production league and results league, and that stuff matters. And he did say it was a sloppy performance. So that's different from what he usually says, but it's still nothing, right? Like, you can't get inspired from watching a Dennis Allen press conference. It will help you go to sleep, though. I promise you that. Sci-Fi X says, if we lose next week to Carolina, I'm bringing the brown bag back. Yeah, you won't be the only one. Danny says next year's draft won't make any difference whatsoever if Mickey Loomis is still the ultimate decider. You might be right, Danny. Allen isn't worried about his job. That's the problem. No matter the result, he knows there's no consequence for losing. Yeah, I said that before. Like, where's the accountability for this Saints team? You've been objectively awful for 6 straight games. And us fans have been giving nothing to think, okay, changes are going to be made, you know? Brandon says Gale probably needs to sell the team to someone who cares about winning. I mean, it starts to feel that way, right? After every loss where there's no accountability, it really starts to feel that way. Sergio says, can we just release Kendry? I'm tired of this shit despite looking good every time he's on the field. Yeah, at some point, injuries are who you get or what you get defined by. And that's going to be the case for Kendry Miller, which is a shame, but he's never healthy. Matthew says, honestly, are also the Panthers more hopeless at this point? Same boat. Honestly, same boat at this point. Panthers need a quarterback and maybe need a coach. Saints need a quarterback and a coach. Roster situation is not great for either team. Same boat, honestly. I mean, now I think Panthers actually have a worse owner, which is kind of impressive, but it's similar boat, man. Captain Deluxe says DA can't win, DA can't draft, and it seems he can't motivate. His press conferences are pathetic, and now he's 26-52. Brandon says Allen is in denial about the players checking out on him, but what is he supposed to say, though? Yeah, that's why press conferences for me, you can't get too aggravated with them. Like, what are they going to say? I lost the team and I'm a shitty coach? It's not going to do it. Matthew says, is Travis Hunter the next coming of Taysom? Sure, but better, way better, and will probably make a way bigger impact. Like, Travis is a special player. Special player. Ed says 2012 Saints defense had no talent. He was coordinating 2 Super Bowl teams with the Giants. Yeah, I mean, when Spags is a defensive coordinator and he's got the talent, the results are always there. If he's got to go above that, the results are usually bad. But it's kind of funny. He's kind of found that role for him. Noah says, if DA gets canned, what guys in your mind are fit for the job? What can you expect out of him? I mean, look, I think we got to realize that the hot shot coordinators will not come to the Saints. Ben Johnson will not come to the Saints. Bobby Slowick probably will not come to the Saints. Would Mike Vrabel take it and rebuild it? Maybe. You know, like that. Those are probably guys you may have to consider. But it is, you're going to need to fix a lot of shit. This team is broken right now. And I feel bad for whoever comes in next. But you know what? It's got to start, right? Like this idea that, okay, let's go one more year so Dennis Allen can take one more year of lumps and spare the next guy. Can you really do that, though? Losing is contagious. And that's why I also hate tanking. Like, you think like it's good because you're going to get a pick. Just like winning's contagious, losing's contagious, man. Reginald says, like I said at halftime for the Saints, DA says we got to do better. Cam says 24-hour rule. It ain't going to change. Nope. No, sir. It's not. It's going to be the same result every single time. D23 says the fact we aren't hearing anything about DA's seat getting remotely warm is making this thing more frustrating. It seems like management doesn't care. It does feel that way. And I will not argue against that, right? Like, if there's no urgency, what's that supposed to make us feel? You know? Brandon says, which QB would you draft next year? Still too early for me, but like, look, I know people are going to be hyped about Shador. Cam Ward kind of does it all, and he's an exciting player. I probably had the most fun watching him so far. I'm not really a Jalen Milroe guy. I just think he makes too many mistakes. I think he's fun, but I feel like there's a lot of work there. I'm not a Carson Beck guy. I think Carson Beck's a little bit overrated. I don't think Quinn Ewers' ceiling is that high. You know? I mean, I would say, like, you watch LSU, Nussmeier makes some nice throws, and then he makes the dumbest throws you can imagine. So, like, I don't really love this quarterback class. it's really tough to fall in love with anyone. But probably if I had to guess, like Cam Ward and Shador are going to be the guys that everyone starts liking as we get closer to the draft. Max says it's time for Cam Ward. Cam seriously needs to consider retiring. He hasn't been good for a while. Yeah, I mean, at some point, it needs to be a conversation worth having. Like, if he comes back next year, he's just stealing money from the team. Now, you blame the team, right? They gave him that contract, but that's where we're going, man. Brandon says Shador probably ends up with the Raiders. I kind of feel like that would be a spot for him. Matthew says, in retrospect, would you rather have lost one or two of those first two games? Obviously, we want to see the Saints win, but it feels like the reason DA is hanging on by a thread. It's a good point. Beating the Cowboys is fun, though. You want to say losing the Panthers, fine, whatever, I don't care. But like beating the Cowboys, I'll take that one. Xavier says, at this point, do we tank for Shador Sanders? I don't know if that's what they'll like. I mean, I'm sure if they lose on Sunday and they fall to 2-7, it'll be a conversation like, do they start tanking? Bro, I've watched this team since I was 17. I'm 35, and I just missed 2 games first time ever on purpose. Yo, I don't blame you at all. I'll wrap it up with your comment and my answer to that. The Saints have reached the point, guys, where they don't give us Saints fans a reason to invest our Sundays, our time every weekend towards this team. So you missing 2 games, I'm not going to blame you at all. And I wouldn't judge you at all because your team has to give you a product that you want to watch, that you want to, set aside your other things on a Sunday and watch this team. And right now, why the hell would you watch this team? And I'm saying this as someone who needs people to watch this team so we can all have this interaction after games. And I'm saying they're not worth watching. That's how bad they've been. So I would never judge a Saints fan for saying right now, oh, I'm like kind of checked out. I know some people say, oh, fair weather fan. When it gets this insulting, do what's good for you. That's what I would say. And keep it at that. But anyway, guys, that is going to wrap it up here for this edition of the Straight Up Saints podcast. I want to thank you all for your comments, for your likes, for your super chats, your thoughts. You guys have been tremendous. You guys have always been tremendous. I know this season's been rough. I hope you guys continue, though, to come into these chats and share your thoughts. It's been really fun interacting with you guys, and I've greatly appreciated it. As always, though, new week coming up. We'll have more content here, whether it's preview pods, some shorts, and all that right here on the Straight Up Saints podcast, the destination for the Who Dat Nation.